What's going on, world? This is Derek J, bringing you Peace News Now. We are live, broadcasting from Keene, New Hampshire. We've got a lot going on in the world of peaceful resistance. First of all, there have been hundreds of people, 430 to be exact, arrested for fast food protests. We've got the scoop on that story for you, plus another Silk Road arrest, but this one is finished. Charlie Shrem, you may remember, we reported back in 2013, was arrested in December, has now pled guilty to his Silk Road charges. We'll get into that story. Plus, was there a bribe from CEO Patrick Byrne, head of Overstock.com, a bribe of the new Chamber of Digital Commerce? You decide. Plus, Microsoft defies the federal government in order to protect their customers. Is that really true? We'll get into that story. Plus, undercover police are wearing your enemy's jersey at your local football game. We'll have that story and good news about the Shire LibertyNews.com. It's hosting all sorts of new Hampshire Liberty media outlets. And we've got a full list for you. Plus, we'll take your calls. 443-424-8347 gets you on the air, or Skype PeaceNewsNow. You send a contact request to that address, it'll be accepted. I'll put you on the air. That's how it works. You can also watch the show. We've got live video broadcasting at derekj.me. That's my website where I've got all kinds of media there for you to see. Media harping on peaceful resistance. That's my bag, and boy, I just can't get enough. So if you've got stories of peaceful resistance, go ahead and call in. Our number is Hi-Fi CivDis. And let's get to the first story. Thousands of fast food workers strike. 430 of them are arrested. Here's the story from USA Today. Take a listen.
Protesters demanding better wages for fast food workers block traffic on the streets of New York and Detroit. Some handcuffed by police and led away during what labor organizers are calling acts of nonviolent civil disobedience.
They want 15, they want a union, they want to be organized, and we should, and the McDonald's Corporation should allow that to happen immediately.
The nationwide Fight for $15 campaign has gained widespread attention, buoyed by President Barack Obama's recent push to get Congress to raise the minimum wage, currently $7.25 an hour.
We'll sit down all over this country.
Workers say the proposed wage increase would make a huge difference in their daily lives.
All we want to do is just take care of ourselves and our families without government assistance, without help from anybody. And these billion-dollar fast food companies are just don't want to give back.
Wait a minute. Okay, so this guy wants to be able to provide for his family without government assistance. So who is he begging to raise the minimum wage? The government? I think he's forgetting how short-sighted this protest is. Well, let's continue.
It means that I can actually provide daily, my day-to-day basis, be able to provide for my son, pay rent on time, pay light bill on time.
Similar protests were planned in about 150.
All right, wait a minute. Talking about paying stuff on time, that doesn't make any sense at all. If you can pay the bills, you should be able to pay them on time. If you can't pay them on time because you don't have enough money, well, then you probably shouldn't be living where you're living. You can always downsize, you can always rent, you can always live in a smaller box, and you know, it's not like I'm heartless and saying, oh, you should just work harder. But the fact is that the majority of poor in this country work less than 15 hours a week combined. That's the entire household. So that's really not enough to raise a family or to have any sort of subsistence living. Let's continue with the video, though, from these minimum wage fast food workers who are protesting so that they can get double their wages. Here we go.
Cities nationwide.
We'll be back.
Maggie Mazzetti, Associated Press.
All right, so that's it. That's the scoop from the Associated Press and USA Today. They've got a little blurb about some of the information. 430 workers demonstrating for higher wages were arrested. Those included Representative Gwen Moore, a Democrat from Wisconsin, and she joined the fast food workers from New York to Chicago to Los Angeles who put down their burger flippers and picked up picket signs in a strike for $15 an hour minimum wages. The rallies included acts of civil disobedience, mostly blocking the streets. So this is where I split. I am way big a fan of them doing this. Like, yes, go ahead, protest in the streets and make a lot of noise and hold up your signs and tell the people what you want. This is very good. Peacefully disobeying orders to, move from the streets. All of this I think is great. Yes, peacefully disobey. That is doing good. But your message kind of sucks. The message of, oh, you should pay us double just because we're demanding it sucks. But at least you're starting the conversation. Change can't happen without confrontation. And these people are starting some agitation between them and the management. So, yeah, people are listening. They're taking notice. People like me hopefully will be able to redirect them and say, hey, guys, you should increase your skills. You should market yourselves better and negotiate with your employers so that you can make more money and earn it rather than demand it. Your employer is going to pay you what you're worth. And if you don't believe me, look at the McDonald's or the Walmart in North Dakota. Starting salaries are $17.50 an hour for cashier positions, for janitorial jobs. Don't believe me? Check it out. Go look it up for yourself. I have the link in a couple episodes past. But the reason is because that's what the employees there are worth. They're worth that because the market rate in North Dakota is so high, given that all those workers are extracting oil and natural gas, that they've got opportunity cost. They can be paid something much higher for another entry-level job, or they could go work at Walmart. Well, if Walmart wants their stores stocked and employees to help the customers, well, then they've got to pay comparable rates. So that's what people are worth. So if you think that you should be able to raise a family, drive a car, pay your rent, have a home, all on minimum wage salary, you've got another thing coming. I mean, does flipping burgers really warrant that sort of an income? Most people could just be easily replaced with automation and machinery. That's what's going to happen. And when these people demand $15 an hour minimum wage, they don't see it, but it's about to shoot themselves in the foot. They're asking government to put their employers in jail if they pay them any less. If they paid them, $10 an hour when the minimum wage is $15, that would be a pretty good increase for most people today, but it would be illegal for their employers to do so. The same as it's illegal for employers today to pay $6 an hour, $5 an hour to anyone who wants to sweep up floors, get some work experience, show up at a job, do some part-time work as a high school student or maybe even a middle school student. Why shouldn't the youth be able to be employed? A lot of people would argue that it would undercut those other workers that have no skills. Well, maybe you should get some skills. It's not impossible. There are free libraries everywhere. So, take some personal responsibility. That's my bottom line message, and it's not going to sit well with everybody. But that's the bottom line. You've got to take personal responsibility if you want to increase your station in life. It's not about demanding things from lords up on high. Oh, those politicians in Washington, they're looking out for me. No, they're not. They're looking to line their pocket and get the next vote, even if that means sending you to the unemployment line next year, next election cycle, because they don't care about what happens long term. Now, long term, it would be in your best interest to have no minimum wage. Just let that sink in for a minute. No minimum wage, meaning if someone does a job worth $1 an hour, you can do that. Now, today there exists jobs that are paid under minimum wage level, but they're not. They have to hide from the government. You can't have work experience that you can put on your resume saying that you were paid less than $7.25 or whatever the national minimum wage is. That would be great for a lot of students who want a leg up with their first real job. Say, look at all this, these hours of employment or these years of employment that I had working for the grocery store, stocking shelves, or pulling carts back. All of that, is it really worth $8 an hour? Unclear. But the work experience sure shows that you've got a work ethic, and that would be worth it in the end. This is Peace News Now.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Lil Drums. Every bit as fun as a full-size Nestle drumstick cone, and definitely cuter. Visit us at drumstick.com. Vacation's all about family time, but you don't have to leave home to have fun. Take 1 weekend a month and devote it to family activities. Pull out the board games and puzzles, serve up some treats, or have a picnic. Even without leaving home, you'll feel like you've really had some time away. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
An update now on a legal battle emerging around the Onion News Network's own Jode Kressbeckler. After the shocking story yesterday that a group of assailants attacked Congressman William Cummings, tied him to a horse, and dragged him through a briar patch, some are now saying these statements from Mr. Kressbeckler last week may have incited the attack.
Bootlicking Congressman Cummings ought to be tied to a horse and drugged through a briar patch.
Mr. Kressbeckler's show is billed as an opinion and entertainment program.
Yes,
and he even calls himself nothing but a caterwauling old badger, so
Right.
the claim that he would incite people to violence seems pretty far-fetched.
He displayed a map of Congressman Cummings' home in relation to the nearest briar patch, told his viewers where to purchase a, quote, good pulling horse, and used a life-size dummy of Congressman Cummings to demonstrate effective knot-tying techniques.
Right. I think most reasonable people would see that as simply a ribald political satire.
Right.
Briar patch is obviously a metaphor for the prickly political atmosphere in Washington, and drag from a horse means something else.
Makes sense to me.
This is the Onion News Network. Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's Keene, New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
We're back, talking fast food, talking minimum wage, and what's it really all about? Are these workers, they can't say that they're doing anything wrong by striking. They're totally peaceful. They're not hurting anyone. Share your thoughts. 443-424-8347 is our call-in line, or Skype PeaceNewsNow. I'd love to hear from you. Did you ever have a minimum wage job? Did you think you could have earned more? How did you eventually leave the minimum wage job and move on to bigger and better things? I know I worked as a janitor before in the past, and was paid about what I was worth. It was $9 an hour, which is not the minimum wage at the time, but after being an independent contractor, you end up having to pay your own taxes. It ends up being less than minimum wage. So sometimes you get the worst end of the deal, even being paid more, because the tax man comes and gets you. Well, there's that. I was paid minimum wage again during a time as I worked at as a clerk at an accounting firm. Again, just a little over minimum wage, and that was, that's about what it's worth. What am I doing? Putting away papers, organizing stuff. How much can you pay a person like that? And I would have accepted being paid less than minimum wage if I were able to keep all the money. It would have been different. After being paid minimum wage, after all the taxes, it ends up only being $6 and change because the government has to take its share, right? And if you never file to get that money back, well, then you've lost a good chunk of your income. That was my problem, and I'd love to hear how other fast food workers and minimum wage employees are getting around it. Let's return to the story from USA Today. Quote, there has to be civil disobedience because workers don't see any other way to get $15 an hour and a union, says Kendall Fells, the organizing director of Fast Food Forward, a group backed financially by the Service Employees International Union, which organized Thursday's protests. There's a long history of this, from the civil rights movement to the farm workers movement. A number of fast food workers make close to the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, or roughly $15,000 annually. Some say that is not a living wage, especially for workers who are supporting families. In a statement, McDonald's said, quote, "We believe that any minimum wage increase should be implemented over time so that the impact on small owners and small to medium businesses, like the ones who own and operate the majority of our restaurants, is manageable." Strikers began to gather early Thursday in more than 100 cities at outlets for major fast food chains from McDonald's to Wendy's to Burger King. Shortly after 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, police arrested 19 workers who sat down in the street outside of McDonald's in New York Times Square. The New York City Police Department said as many as several dozen striking workers were arrested in Detroit. In West Milwaukee, Moore, 62, a 5-term congresswoman, was arrested after she joined a street sit-in and refused to leave when police told demonstrators to move. West Milwaukee police say they arrested 25 others. She says, quote, "I take great pride in supporting Milwaukee workers as they risk arrest in pursuit of a brighter tomorrow for their families." But these people, they don't see another option, and if they're going to choose something, thank goodness it's peaceful. If they can't choose the option of going to the library, picking up a book, and giving themselves an education, or, God forbid, going on the internet and getting any number of free educations provided by Ivy League universities, if they can't think of those things to do to improve their skills and market themselves better to their potential employers, well then, acts of civil disobedience, sitting in the street, that's one way to at least get their message across, that they don't feel they're being paid enough. But instead of sitting in the street, maybe they ought to be working. Just a thought. Burger King cashier Terrence Wise, age 35, who was arrested in Kansas City, Missouri, says he's demonstrating for future workers and for his 3 daughters, ages 12, 10, and 8. You know what? Pretty soon they should be working at Burger King, Terrence. You're 35. Move on. Get some skills. By the time you're 35, you should have had plenty of time in the real world to develop some marketable skills. And if you haven't, then go to the library. Go home. Go to your computer. Go to your smartphone. Go to your PSP. Go download an ebook. Okay? It's about time you increase your skills. And I'm not just saying this to pick on fast food workers. I work minimum wage myself. Okay? But it's in the past. You're supposed to start there. It's an entry-level position. It's low to no skills. They want to train you from you're basically brain dead to you can flip these burgers, you can take these orders. If they could replace you with automated machines, they would, and they're going to. So get ready for it and get your skill levels up, man. There's got to be something you can do with those skills, maybe some customer service. There's always going to be a need for that, even in an automated world. Quote, "Tomorrow, I've got to move out of my house because I can't afford my rent," says Terrence Wise, the same 35-year-old we spoke about before. He's worked at Burger King for 10 years and earns $9.50 an hour. It's not 4 million CEOs, but 4 million fast food workers who keep these companies running. And he's right, that's true. But Terrence, you're replaceable. Don't you get that? The 4 CEOs don't. They're not replaceable. They are integral to the business decisions. They're making big-time decisions that impact all the workers and all the customers. You are not. And so you do not deserve the sort of compensation that such a high level of responsibility warrants. And he's saying, tomorrow I've got to move out of my house because I can't afford to pay rent. Well, whose fault is that? You had 3 kids. You've had the same job for 10 years working at Burger King. Okay, did you think that, like, I don't know, it doesn't say if he's a manager or not, but it sounds like at $9.50 an hour, he's probably not a manager. 10 years. Had no time to climb the ranks? No extra responsibilities that you jumped into? I mean, come on. And even at $15,000 a year, that is no way to raise 3 kids. Hopefully he's not the only wage earner in the family. But even if he were, isn't there some way he could work 2 jobs? Doesn't that happen sometimes where people say, gosh, I'm not making enough with one of these. I can't make ends meet. I better get another job. Did that ever occur to anyone? Working more? That's one way to make more income. In New York, more than 400 demonstrators gathered outside the Times Square McDonald's, and 14 men and women were arrested and accused of sitting in the street and blocking traffic. The National Council of Chain Restaurants, an industry trade group, took issue with the protest tactics. Quote, "While it is common for labor unions to stage events in order to grab media attention, encouraging activities that put both restaurant workers and their customers in danger of physical harm is not only irresponsible, it's disturbing. Unions are calling it civil disobedience, and in reality, this choreographed activity is trespassing, and it's illegal." Wow. Rob Green, you're making a big fool of yourself by saying that. Rob Green, of course, of the National Council of Chain Restaurants. Of course it's illegal. Civil disobedience is always illegal. Doesn't seem like he gets it. Well, that's unfortunate because this labor dispute is going to continue whether the workers are heard or not. Hopefully, some of them are listening to Peace News and decide to pick up a book, take a second job, and increase their income. Take personal responsibility. This is Peace News.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, LionsofLiberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar! That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at LionsofLiberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
What's going on? Welcome back, world. You're listening to Peace News, live at LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. We've got more stories of peaceful resistance coming up, but your stories always come first. You can dial in 443-424-8347. Gets you on the air. That number spells out Hi-Fi Civ Dis, or you can Skype us. It sounds even better that way. Skype PeaceNewsNow. Your contact request will be accepted, and then I'll put you on the air. So let's, the last thing I have to say about this fast food worker story is that I think a lot of the workers who are on strike, they're not very educated. Obviously, they're working low skill jobs, and they probably work a lot of hours, so they don't have time to study this stuff. But there's something called opportunity cost. There's market for labor, just as there is a market for cell phones or anything else. And what they don't realize is they exist on that market for labor, and if they increase their wages too high, if they say, Mr. Employer, I won't take a job, or you aren't allowed to hire me at less than $15 an hour, without knowing it, they're really they're ending up gutting their own jobs. So first of all, let's assume there's no such thing as automation and they have to be completely replaced by other workers. The business only makes so much money. They only take in so much, and they only get that money from their customers. It's not like government where they have this endless printing press where they could just make up whatever figures they want and hand out money. They're a business, so they have only got to pay out what they take in. They take in a certain amount. You double the expense for labor, which, by the way, is the most expensive fixed cost for any business. You double that expense, and they're going to have to cut some of their employees. Just a fact of life. You make increases one place, you're going to have to balance that out with a decrease somewhere else. Paying people more means paying fewer people. So these people who are demanding $15 an hour jobs, they're going to end up without a job. I mean, are they really are they able to produce $15 an hour, $15 worth of product per hour? It's arguable whether or not they are. So this is the final thing I want to say. It's just they probably don't realize what they're doing, and I want to help them understand that they are part of this market for labor. There's supply and demand. You make the supply cost too high, and that demand is going to shrink. Just a fact of life. Sorry, I don't make the rules. What else we got? This is an important story. A Bitcoin entrepreneur, friend of the show, Charlie Shrem, pleads guilty to Silk Road charges. Now, I've covered this story since the beginning when we used to not advertise because they were never a sponsor, but I used to promote bitinstant.com, a website where anyone could go and exchange their fiat dollars for hard digital money. By that I mean Bitcoin. It's like the gold of digital money. A leading Bitcoin entrepreneur pleaded guilty Thursday in New York City to illegally helping a dealer sell $1 million in Bitcoin to customers on the Silk Road, a dark web website where users could anonymously buy and sell contraband drugs. So everyone who listens to this show knows about the Silk Road. It's a website where people could go be a merchant and sell things in exchange for Bitcoin, or they could buy things. And it was like a underground marketplace, sort of a replacement for the physical world's back alleys. Now has moved to the digital realm of back alleys of websites that you have to use Tor to access. Tor being the onion router, just a way to mask your IP address, your identity, where your computer is coming from, and make it a little more difficult for government agents or others who might be snooping to find out what you're doing on your computer. Well, you might have been going to the Silk Road and buying some drugs. No shame in it. But Charlie Shrem, he helped people do just that by helping them get Bitcoin. That's sort of a weird way to punish somebody for distributing Bitcoin. It seems like the feds really wanted to crack down on this virtual currency, and they wanted to crack down on the individuals who were helping spread the adoption, like bitinstant.com, Charlie Shrem, his company, and others like him, Ross Ulbricht of the Silk Road. These are the people who are saying, wow, this is a new technology. Look at all the amazing things we can do with it. We can connect people across long distances, make the black market safer for all individuals by bringing accountability to merchants, by allowing people to have rating systems for the different merchants, know what they're getting, and or at least know better what they're getting, and cut out the dangerous back alley deals by having drugs delivered right to their doorstep. It's an amazing thing, and it really would change the world if it were allowed to grow unfettered. But of course the government had to get involved and say, no, freedom is bad. We can't have that, or people will do whatever they want. Yeah, sounds like heaven. Let's continue from this story of USA Today. Charlie Shrem, Chief Executive Officer of the Bitcoin exchange company bitinstant.com, was the company official charged with making sure the exchange complied with federal money laundering laws. He could be sentenced to 5 years in prison, but by taking a plea deal, Shrem avoids going to trial on more serious charges of money laundering and violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, which carries more prison time. All of these, of course, are victimless crimes. Silk Road dealer Robert Failla, known by his online handle BTC King, pleaded guilty Thursday to operating an unlicensed money transmitting business that knowingly sent money to criminal enterprises. He could be sentenced to 5 years in prison. The men will be sentenced January 20th, so mark your calendars and pay attention to that. If you don't, though, Peace News Now will have it covered. We'll be talking about it. January 20th is when they are sentenced. Working together, Shrem and Failla exchanged nearly $1 million in cash for bitcoins for the benefit of Silk Road users, so that the users could, in turn, make illegal purchases on the Silk Road. That, according to the Justice Department. But isn't that what the Federal Reserve does with their money? I mean, think of all the criminals who use dollars to commit crimes and money laundering and purchasing illegal substances. Well, shouldn't the Federal Reserve then be charged with creating the money that these criminals then use to commit crimes? Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. But Bitcoin is somehow different. It's just an exchange of value. Federal agents shut down Silk Road, a sprawling online black market bazaar, on October 2nd, 2013. The article fails to mention that the Silk Road went back up about a week later, totally operating just as it did before, if not more secure than ever before. And they're not doing anything on credit. They changed the way they operate a little bit. So I don't know. I don't use the Silk Road, but I hear from people who do that it's gotten more secure, and it still exists. It hasn't gone away just because the feds took it down once. Of course, they put Ross Ulbricht in prison. He's still in jail. And his friend Andrew Jones, who is alleged to be the site's co-admin named Inigo. You can look them up at drewsdefense.org, and I believe it's helpross.org, something like that. I'll find out. Save Ross. I'll find the website for Ross Ulbricht soon. But these guys, they don't get a lot of media attention. I mean, no one's saying, well, there are very few people saying what they're doing is good, they are not criminals, they should be released from jail immediately, and all their charges should be dropped. I mean, USA Today is pretty much rewriting what the government's reports are from the Justice Department. Oh, Shrem was trading Bitcoin on the black market Silk Road site and helping money launderers violate the Bank Secrecy Act, blah, blah, blah. You know, they make all these laws to incriminate peaceful people like Shrem, who are innovators, bringing the world a new technology. It's going to change the way people do business across long distances, and then they have to crush it. It can't last. It's just sad that we have to live in a world where that's what's happening in the U.S. right now. It's not going to be forever. Like I said, Silk Road websites continue to exist, and more are being created every day. Bitcoin certainly hasn't gone anywhere. There are more altcoins than ever before. The trend continues toward freedom. This is Peace News.
Aren't you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Well, stop using their money. There's an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government, and by using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at WeUseCoins.com. That's WeUseCoins.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring silence to their rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. This is you ain't gonna make it. Wait a minute.
Forget it.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better, no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
We return to more peace news. We're talking about the Silk Road arrests. There have been many. Ross Ulbricht, Andrew Jones, Charlie Shrem, and Robert Faila. Those are the names I can remember offhand. They'll be sentenced January 20th, 2015. Now, it's been alleged that the site, the federal agents who shut down the Silk Road on October 2nd, 2014, shut it down for good, right? Wrong. There are many Silk Road copycats that exist, and some of whom have already come and gone, but they will continue. The idea is not going away, and now there's even a new idea. This is so seditious. It's called Open Bazaar, and I should probably just do a quick Google search just for Open Bazaar just so I don't screw it up. But the idea is that it's a decentralized marketplace, and here, let's see. It's an open source. They've got a little about page. It's an open source project to create a decentralized network for commerce online using Bitcoin that has no fees and cannot be censored. Here's a little screenshot from their website. Here it is, openbazaar.org. And we've got a clip. Let's play this clip.
Old becomes new again. Long ago, bazaars were the center of trade. People interacted with each other directly in their local marketplace. There were no middlemen telling them what to sell, how much to charge, how to pay. But we live in a different era. Even though the internet is global, governments and corporations are restricting free trade. They collect your data and violate your privacy. They censor transactions and take their own cut. It's time to take control back. Open Bazaar is a free and open marketplace for the digital age. No censorship, no fees, no middlemen, just the freedom to exchange directly with each other. We need you to help us achieve that vision. You can donate Bitcoin to this address, or help us build the bazaar at our GitHub. Let's make trade free globally. It's about time.
Boy, that's the closest thing to world peace that I could ever imagine. The government's finally out of the picture of playing the middleman, orchestrating how much you can make. Like what we talked about at the first story, minimum wage. I mean, why should the government tell employers that I'm going to throw you in a cage if you if you pay your employees $7 an hour instead of $7.25 an hour? I mean, why should employers go to a cage for that? They're paying good money. And you would think that they're negotiating with their employers. The employees don't have to work any particular place. They go in and apply for a job. And if they're applying for a job and saying, hey, I'm willing to work for $7 an hour, I realize it's less than minimum wage, but that's what I'm willing to work for so that you give me the job over someone else, Well, hey, they've just undercut and won. Anyway, I would like to see a decentralized marketplace because governments, whether you accept this fact or not, it is a fact that when they are intruding, they are using violence or threats thereof to say, hey, you better pay $15 an hour minimum wage or I'm going to throw you in a cage. That's the end result, right? Obviously, they're not going to do that at first. That's why so few people can see the gun in the room. Oh, if you don't pay taxes, no, nothing happens. You get a letter at your door, and they just send you a fine. Yeah, well, what happens if you don't pay that? Huh? Increasing threats until, eventually, the threat of death. Don't believe me? What do you think happens when you try and outrun the cops, when you try and resist when the feds come to your door and say, hey, you're not paying your employees the right amount. We mandated that you pay them 25 cents more per hour than you're paying them. Now you're coming with us. Well, you say, no thanks, I'm not coming with you. You will be beaten. You will be dragged into jail, or you'll be shot. So I don't want anything like that to exist in the world. I'd like to see free people able to freely exchange without any middlemen getting in the way. Those middlemen calling themselves government. I don't want it. All right, so this is great. Open Bazaar, they've got a blog. You can also test out their beta version. It is online. And contact them. project@openbazaar.org. This is brilliant. I want to be a part of it. You can send them Bitcoin. Here is their Bitcoin address once again. It's being shown up on screen. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can take a look at that later. Our YouTube address is youtube.com/PeaceNewsNow. Pretty easy to remember. All right, let's return to the story about Charlie Shrem, and let's see what happens. So not only Charlie Shrem, but remember Faila, one of the people who was running a Bitcoin exchange on the Silk Road in December 2011 until the site shut down. He allegedly violated federal law by failing to register with the Treasury Department as a money-transmitting business. So what did he do? He exchanged customers' cash for Bitcoin through Shrem's company. So people said, hey, I have cash, and I want Bitcoin. How do I do it? Well, you can do it any number of ways. One of them was through bitinstant.com, and one of them was through Faila, who it looks like he was saying, oh, you don't have Bitcoin? You're going to need that to operate or to buy things on the Silk Road, so I will exchange it for you. And he did that through Shrem's business. What's the crime in that? I don't see it. Who's the victim? Shrem is a well-known figure in the Bitcoin community. Until his indictment in January, he was vice president of the Bitcoin Foundation, a trade group that promotes Bitcoin as an alternative currency. In his bio on the foundation's website, Shrem is described as using his position in both the old world banking and new alternative currency world to help pave the way for the Bitcoin economy to emerge in early 2011. Indeed, he did. BitInstant.com, one of the earliest Bitcoin businesses, drew interest and investment from the tech-savvy Winklevoss twins. The brothers Winklevoss Capital had invested money into the business, but they say they had no active role in the company. Just a way to say, oh, we had nothing about what was going on here. We didn't know freedom existed at this place. We're sorry. We don't want any freedom. Sorry, government. You know, speaking of sorry, government, we don't want freedom, something a little bit concerning happened this week. There's a new department, another of these ABC companies or ABC bureaucracies built up by the FedGov. The Chamber of Digital Commerce. Sounds official, right? Here, let me get some echo on here. The Chamber of Digital Commerce. Yeah, well, what do you do with a new bureaucracy? You pay them off, of course. Patrick Byrne knows what's up. He's the CEO of Overstock.com, and he handed out the first early bribe, or soon will. He's promised to bribe them. He didn't use that word. No, he's not bribing anyone. But according to Cointelegraph.com, you can read in the news that the Chamber of Digital Commerce is going to receive a pretty hefty donation from Overstock, a company that made news for being one of the first to accept Bitcoin on its website. We're having a little bit of difficulty loading that webpage for some reason, so I'll just move along to the next story while we wait. Microsoft, another tech company, defies the FedGov in an order to protect their customers. This is strange because a lot of people are used to Microsoft teaming up with the federal government for monopoly status to screw their customers. But according to Microsoft, that's not what's happening. They're defying a court order and will not give emails to the U.S. government. Looks like Microsoft's finally making a stand. We will go through that story and return to the story from Cointelegraph.com when their website is back to operational. Reading from WindowsITPro.com, Paul Thoreau writes, despite a federal court order directing Microsoft to turn overseas-held email data to federal authorities, the software giant said Friday it will continue to withhold that information as it waits for the case to wind through the appeals process. The judge has now ordered both Microsoft and federal prosecutors to advise her how to proceed by next Friday, September 5th. Okay, so this was written 7 days ago. So it's unclear what they've done since then, but this is the story from WindowsITPro.com. Let there be no doubt that Microsoft's actions in this controversial case are customer-centric. The firm isn't just standing up to the U.S. government on moral principles. It's now defying a federal court order. Quote, Microsoft will not be turning over the emails and plans to appeal, a Microsoft statement notes. Everyone agrees this case can and will proceed to the appeals court. This is simply about finding the appropriate procedure for that to happen. We've got more from this story about how Microsoft is refusing to comply with the FedGov. Plus, we've got that story for you from Cointelegraph.com about Overstock paying off a new bureaucracy.
People of Earth, prepare yourselves.
Admit you're stoned.
I have no soul.
He cannot pick up a knife, cut a steak.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I might consider some toe sucking.
How much pot are you smoking right now?
My ball handling isn't so great.
Inconceivable. The 27th level of I don't know what you're talking about.
You can't handle the truth.
This is so hardcore, people won't even believe it.
It's a story about love, for Christ's sake.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds good. I mean, I'm not really sure what it means.
Come on!
When I think about him, I feel funny inside.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Do what you want, man. I got no problem with it. But I'm still going to talk about it.
What? Do you like that?
Now it's just way too big. That needs to be censored.
Excellent.
For more of this insanity, visit blacksheeprising.org. You have been warned.
It's a freaking podcast. Duh.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, September 7th, 2014. Silver is trading at $19.22 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,269 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $487. Antiwar.com reports it's now been well over a day since the Ukrainian government and eastern Ukrainian rebels agreed to a Russian-brokered ceasefire, and while both sides are claiming violations by the other, the ceasefire seems to be holding. The rebels noted some rocket fire against positions on the outskirts of the rebel capital of Donetsk, which the government chalked up to a provocation. The government claimed some rebel artillery fire later in the day near Mariupol. Neither incident seems to have done serious harm, though both sides seem to be trying to test the limits of the ceasefire agreement, while simultaneously portraying the other side as the primary violator. The truce, assuming it continues to hold, should give way to more discussion on the final settlement terms, which are expected to include increased autonomy for the East and a retraction of the government's ban on the use of Russian language in official business. Russian is the primary language in the East, and the move to ban it was what kicked off major unrest in the region after the formerly Eastern-dominated government was overthrown earlier in the year by Western protesters. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. Reuters reports supporters of Scottish independence have taken their first opinion poll lead since the referendum campaign began, which indicates a real possibility that they might win, according to a YouGov survey for the Sunday Times newspaper. With less than 2 weeks to go before the September 18th vote, the poll put the Yes to Independence campaign on 51% against the Unionists on 49%, overturning a 22-point lead for the Unionist campaign in just a month. The paper announced the headline results in a news release ahead of the publication, but gave no further details of the poll. YouGov later said on its website that the results excluded those who would not vote and those who do not yet know. With those groups added, secessionists would be on 47% and unionists would be at 45%. It said that the poll, conducted after pro-independence leader Alex Salmond was widely judged to have won the second of two televised debates, amounts to a statistical dead heat at the moment. The last poll was the first to represent a real possibility for a yes win, it added in a preliminary statement which gave no further details on the survey. After months of surveys showing nationalists heading for defeat, recent polls have been showing the gap narrowing to the extent that they raise the real prospect that secessionists, led by Salmond's Scottish National Party, could achieve their goal of breaking the 307-year-old union with England. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Coinbase. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. I trust Coinbase. You should too. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. UPI reports President Barack Obama on Saturday delayed executive action on immigration until after the congressional midterm elections. The president had originally told reporters at the end of NATO's summit in Wales on Friday that he intended to take action on reshaping the United States immigration system without congressional approval before November. The decision not to take action sooner is a reversal of Obama's vow in June to move forward on immigration reform before the end of summer, after the House said it would not vote on the bill this year. White House officials said executive action could anger conservatives across the country and could hamper Democratic efforts to retain control of the Senate during the midterm elections. A White House official said, because of the Republicans' extreme politicization of the issue, the president believes it would be harmful to the policy itself and to the long-term prospects for comprehensive immigration reform to announce administrative action before the elections. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
An alarming new study finds that people suffering from stress-related disorders react poorly to being trapped in underwater elevators. A tired 398-month-old throws a tantrum, and a little clay thing is purchased at an arts festival. And now an eerily perfect recap of this week's news. The Catholic Church reversed its long-held stance against gay marriage this week After meeting Connecticut couple Tony and Craig, the vacationing pair dazzled the Pope and assorted clergy with their witty conversation and true loving affection for each other, leading Vatican officials to conclude that love is love and it's silly to put restrictions on it in this day and age. The Chinese people announced that they would be willing to forgive most of the United States' $1.16 trillion debt if Americans agreed to dress up in costumes and perform silly dances for them. Chinese officials encouraged U.S. citizens to wear sequined vests and prance around while slapping their big fat American tummies, promising that the more humiliating the performance, the more debt will be erased. In sports, NASCAR fans are deeply puzzled by a mysterious black family seen attending multiple races.
This is the Onion News Network.
Peace News 443-424-8347. Spells out hi-fi civ dis, or give us a call by Skyping Peace News Now. We've returned to a story about about Microsoft defying a court order. Let's put that up on the big board. Microsoft defies court order. They should be given an award. I think they get the Peace News Now Award of Defiance for the day. Although the people in the chat room, I have to be honest, say you guys are being a little too hard on Microsoft here, saying, oh, you know, what competitors have they got? They lose nothing from this. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. They say, China capitulation by Microsoft bothered me a bunch, but I do understand they wouldn't be operating in China otherwise. Yeah, I think that exactly sums up the process. The thing is, Microsoft has little to lose from this. It's not like any sanctions placed on Microsoft Corp will put any dent in their profits. Who are their major competitors? And I guess people think that I'm drinking a big swig of vodka here. I've got a bottle of water, or a glass rather, and this is an official glass of the Free State Project. I don't know if anyone can see this in the screen here, but it's got a little porcupine, and it might be filled with vodka, but it's actually not. All right, let's return to the story, see what Microsoft is up to. I think they are actually deserving of some congratulations here, despite what the people in the chat room are saying. From WindowsITPro.com, there is no doubt that Microsoft's actions in this controversial case are customer-centric. The firm isn't just standing up to the U.S. government on moral principles, it's now defying a federal court order. Quote from the Microsoft statement says, Microsoft will not be turning over the emails and plans to appeal. Everyone agrees this can and will proceed to appeals court. This is simply about finding the appropriate procedure for that to happen. Now, Judge Loretta Preska, the chief of the U.S. District Court in Manhattan, ruled on July 31st that Microsoft was required to hand over email messages stored in an Ireland data center to U.S. prosecutors investigating a criminal case. Well, hey, wait a minute. How can they demand something in Ireland be given over to people in the U.S.? That doesn't seem right. They don't have any jurisdiction there. But she suspended the order temporarily amid complaints from international companies and tech companies in the U.S. that argued that allowing U.S. authorities to search and seize data held internationally was illegal. No. You think? On Friday, however, she lifted that suspension after prosecutors successfully convinced her that her order was not appealable. The removal of the suspension legally requires Microsoft to hand over the email immediately. What did these prosecutors say to this judge? Did they threaten her with violence? I wonder. I mean, I'm not just speculating out of nowhere here. The prosecutors in the past have threatened violence on judges. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that, I mean, remember what happened with the $787 billion, or the sky was going to fall and the economy was going to come to a halt if the Congress didn't hand over a bailout to, who was that guy? Hank Paulson? Yeah. All right, then they gave over the money and nothing happened. The economy still crashed. It was still in awful shape, and we're still feeling the effects of that. And it didn't help anyone. It was just a payoff. This happens all the time in government, and this seems fishy to me that a judge would say, hey, wait a minute, you can't just grab data from Ireland and apply it to the U.S., but hey, prosecutors got to her, and now bang, boom, she reversed her decision, and Microsoft has to turn over their emails. This is the first time a technology company has resisted a U.S. search warrant seeking data that's held outside of the United States. You may remember Peace News reported on a heroic company, LavaBit, headed by Ladar Levison, another awesome civilly disobedient hero who said, F you, FBI. I'm not turning over my encrypted emails from my customers over to you, because they might include emails from Edward Snowden and other whistleblowers. So he said, no, I'm not going to comply. I don't care what you do. You can torture me. Well, eventually he caved. You know, that's the story, right? You put up resistance as much as you can, you hope you get support, and then eventually you fall. Because the government just has unlimited power, unlimited money, unlimited capabilities to prosecute and torture people that, you know, even the best among us who want to put up a peaceful resistance eventually crumble. Sorry, that's just the way it goes right now. I hope for a future where there are enough peaceful resistors where that's not the case, or when the government overextends itself so much that it implodes under its own weight. We're almost there, I think, but we're not there yet. In the view of Microsoft and many legal experts, federal authorities have no jurisdiction over data stored outside the country. Duh. It says that the court order violates Ireland's sovereignty and that prosecutors need to seek a legal treaty with Ireland in order to obtain the data they want. Well, that's just the view of Microsoft. You're the defendants in this case, which means you're wrong, always wrong. And the prosecutors who work for the government and the judge who works for the government, they're always right. So you will hand over your data. The U.S. does have jurisdiction over everything in Ireland and everything over the whole world. They're the police of the world, don't you know? And if they're going to prosecute with justice, they need access to everything in the world. Seems legit. Judge Preska, of course, feels differently. She has consistently agreed with the prosecution argument that the physical location of email is irrelevant because Microsoft controls the data from its base in the United States. Of perhaps more importance is the faith and trust of Microsoft's customers from around the world. Like other technology companies that are pushing for cloud services, Microsoft has been negatively impacted by reports about U.S. government spying and its ability to seize data stored in cloud data centers. It has asked governments from around the world to stop these practices and respect privacy rights. And as it faced resistance on that front, Microsoft has grown increasingly more suspicious of requests from governments for their data. Very fascinating article. The first top comment on this article at Windows IT Pro is from Walt C., who writes, "Good for Microsoft. If the government can't prove its case apart from phishing for emails stored in Ireland, it's difficult to see that the government has any case at all. Burden of proof is on the government, clearly. The defendant has no legal obligation to prove his innocence." Well, that's the way it's supposed to work, but that's not the way it does work in the U.S. of A., the United States of Amnesia. We forget who has the burden of proof. It's the government. They're the one alleging that you've committed some sort of crime, and then they're demanding that you turn over emails that are going to incriminate you. What about a little thing called the Fifth Amendment? Well, I guess that doesn't apply, does it? No, of course not, because the government can do whatever the hell it wants. The rules are for you, not for them. All right, well, good for Microsoft. They're putting up a bit of resistance. I hope that they're successful. We'll continue to report this story. Now we must turn to a new bureaucracy, which has been developed, I think, just a couple of short weeks ago by the FedGov. It's called the Chamber of Digital Commerce. And they're new. And they're receiving a donation from Overstock. This is interesting. And I've got my smellometer checking out to see if this story is BS, or what's really going on here. Well, this from Cointelegraph.com. Let's read the article and break it down. Last week, volunteers organized by the Chamber of Digital Commerce went to Washington, D.C. to educate congressional staffers about Bitcoin and blockchain technologies. You can read our write-up on Bitcoin Education Day here at a link at Cointelegraph.com. Overstock has committed to spend 4% of its Bitcoin revenue on increasing adoption of the digital currency. Overstock has quietly let slip that the Chamber of Digital Commerce will be among the first recipients of the program. Oh, isn't that interesting? So a new bureaucracy develops to regulate Bitcoin and help spread adoption. Yeah, right. Thanks, FedGov, but no thanks. Looks like Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne knows what's up, and he is sending a delightful first bribe to this agency. You think it's going to be in his best interest? Of course it is. This is Peace News.
Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
Are you getting squeezed by the economic downturn? Hey, you were doing fine. Then, all of a sudden, you're having a tough time paying your family's credit card bills. Maybe you were downsized or even lost a job, but you still owe 10 grand or more in credit card bills. And you just can't afford the minimum payments anymore. We're here to help. We are the Genesis Debt Partners. We know the secrets to negotiate better terms with your creditors. Make a free 10-minute call right now and learn how we can help you get out of debt. 800-981-7590. If you owe 10 grand or more in credit card debt and you want to learn how you can pay less and get out of debt faster, call right now. 800-981-7590. 800-981-7590. Get out of debt now. 800-981-7590.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc, and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is Peace News. So good to be with you. I'm your host, Derek J. You can learn about me at my website, derekj.me. There you can find videos, interviews, audio clips, a chat room, everything that you can use to enhance the peace and freedom in your life. Go over there, derekj.me. And if you like my stuff, the videos and blog posts that I produce, send me a Bitcoin donation. You can do that via derekj.me/sponsor or by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen right here if you're watching live at derekj.me. So great to be with you. Of course, you can call in, take control, 443-424-8347, or Skype PeaceNewsNow. We're returning to a story about Patrick Byrne, who's paying off a new Chamber of Digital Commerce. It's a new bureaucratic agency that apparently is going to regulate Bitcoin, and what they claim it's going to do is to help spread Bitcoin adoption. But usually when governments create an agency to do one thing, it's actually designed to do just the opposite. So let's see. The proof is in the pudding. Let's see if the Chamber of Digital Commerce actually stays true to its alleged goals. Now, the Chamber of Digital Commerce and its associated Political Action Committee intend to promote Bitcoin in Washington. The funding amount was not disclosed, but should nonetheless provide a big shot in the arm for the Chamber, which was founded just last month. News of the donation was quietly mentioned by Overstock through a broader article at GigaOM about Overstock's success with Bitcoin. The plan is to donate 4% of Bitcoin revenue to a different Bitcoin-centric charity or cause on a monthly basis. When officially announcing the donation, the Chamber commented, quote, "The Chamber of Digital Commerce is honored to be the first recipient of Overstock's largesse. We are gratified that the work of the Chamber is being recognized, and we pledge to use these funds to further promote the acceptance and use of digital currencies among government and the larger public. We encourage all industry leaders to unite and provide resources, whether through the Chamber, its PAC, or otherwise, to support gaining appropriate recognition and application by our lawmakers of Bitcoin and blockchain technology." Provide resources? That's interesting. Are they saying give us more bribes? Hey, you technology companies that use Bitcoin, pay us off like Overstock did, and we'll be real good to you when it's time to regulate. When Cointelegraph reached out to the Chamber for further comment, they were told that they were surprised as anyone about the news and were awaiting more details from Overstock.com. When asked for comment, Overstock gave Cointelegraph this, quote, "We've yet to distribute any of our Bitcoin revenues, but we'll begin to do so shortly. And when we do, we intend to make the Chamber of Digital Commerce a recipient. It remains unclear exactly how much the donation will be or if it will go entirely to the Chamber. Yahoo recently reported that Overstock is currently grossing about $300,000 USD in Bitcoin sales each month. A number Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne expects to be at $1 million by the end of the year. The $300,000 figure would put Overstock's first month donation around the $12,000 mark. Not a small chunk of change. So they are getting a much-needed shot in the arm, as Cointelegraph puts it. But Byrne, who makes regular appearances at Bitcoin conventions, estimates that Bitcoin is responsible for adding 4 cents to his company's stock value. Cointelegraph.com will have more on the story as information becomes available, and you can count on Peace News to follow this story closely. Now, another story of some concern to you peaceful resistors out there. Undercover police will wear Packers gear at Seahawks opener. This the headline from King5.com, an NBC News affiliate, who reports that undercover law enforcement will be outfitted in opposing team jerseys for all Seahawks home games at CenturyLink Field this season, including the opening game against the Packers on Thursday. The undercover police will also help quickly detect fans exhibiting unruly and inconsiderate behavior. Well, we've got time for your calls. Prakesh, Moparthi is on the line. Oop, we just missed your call. We'll try and get him back. He just tried to call in. And we look forward to hearing from you. So go ahead. You are on Peace News. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, I'm listening to this channel for the first time.
Hey.
I've just got through web what do you call it, web Hangouts, and found your channel really interesting.
Excellent.
And I just want your thought about Amazon acquiring Twitch recently.
Oh yes. Okay. So Twitch. Tell us what that is for those who aren't familiar.
Actually, I'm not familiar.
Okay, well, it's a gaming platform that people can use to. Twitch is the world's leading video platform and community for gamers. More than 45 million gamers gather every month to Twitch to broadcast, watch, and chat while watching games. So this is a technology that enables people to watch other people play video games and chat about it. So this is something. Yeah, this is huge. I mean, 45 million gamers is a big deal. I used to love to watch my friends play video games at their houses. You know, we'd go over and play games. There usually weren't enough controllers for all of us. It usually maxes out at about 4 people. And so you end up watching other people play games sometimes. It can be a lot of fun. And people are making money from this. They're making entire incomes by playing video games. So who did you say just acquired Twitch? Amazon? Smart move. Smart move. Amazon seems to be one of those companies that's taking over. They're like the next Walmart, and they exist only in the digital realm, right? So they've got low overhead, especially compared with firms like Walmart. So they're not paying huge employees. This is another company that doesn't have, it seems like it wouldn't need a bunch of employees. Seems very smart. What do you think about the move?
Yeah, that's really a smart move. If you want to market 1 billion of items related to technology, it's really the right place.
Absolutely, and I would hope to see. Doesn't Twitch? Do they accept Bitcoin? Are you aware of that? I'm not sure. I'll do a quick Google search.
Actually, that was my next question. I'm actually from Southeast Asia, India.
Yes.
So actually, I'm not familiar with Bitcoin, but I do hear it a lot of times from US guys. So what actually is Bitcoin? I mean, is it some sort of social money?
Oh, what a great question! Yes. Bitcoin, you can learn more at bitcoin.com or bitcoin.org. It is the world's first decentralized money. So it's digital money that can be transacted over the internet. It has a fixed amount that will ever exist, 21 million bitcoins, though they can be divided. Similar to gold, gold can be divided into infinite smaller amounts. But it can't be traded across the internet like Bitcoin can. So it's similar to a hard money digital asset. Do you want to stay on this call? We've got a quick break coming up. If you've got more questions, I'd be happy to keep you on.
Yeah, I'll call you back when you have one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chat with you soon. Peace. This is Peace News. You can call in or Skype, as that caller did, by sending a contact request to Peace News Now.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Americans are reeling from Obamacare, higher prices, and an epidemic of policy lapses. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com has you covered. World-class medical and surgery at one of Asia's most modern hospitals. 300 doctors, surgeons, and dentists serving 300,000 patients a year. Fractions of U.S. prices. Friends or family forced to go out of pocket? Avoid bankruptcy. Tell them to run. Run like hell. Hit us up now. We'll show you how. AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenvention. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenvention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. You can pre-order your tickets now for just $60 at keenvention.info, or you can pay with Bitcoin. Visit keenvention.info for more information and to lock in your tickets at the pre-order $60 price for the whole weekend. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's post pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
North, an extremely vocal opponent of gay marriage, drew fire during his 2010 re-election campaign for saying that the legalization of gay marriage would lead to man-horse marriages. In one instance, he told the New Haven Register, quote, "It's a slippery slope. If we allow two men to marry, what's next? Men marrying horses?" But yesterday, North found himself at the center of a media firestorm when the New York Times published photos of North on what appears to be romantic outings with a horse. Gathered during the Times' 2-month investigation, the pictures show North in almost a dozen locations with the same 3-year-old mare. A former aide discovered links to numerous horse-related sites, including phillyfreaks.com and hothindquarters.com, the North's work computer. The Times is accusing North of using federal funds to pay for luxurious trips, including a 3-night stay at the high-end Sueños stables in Catalonia, Spain last month. North released a statement yesterday claiming he only spent time with the horse twice while conducting research for his anti-gay marriage project.
This is the Onion News Network. You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
What's going on, world? We're talking peace news. Okay? Oh, man. You know, if you're listening to this broadcast, you are part of the solution. I am so glad to say that. Hey, we were talking with the last caller who had to drop off the line about Twitch, twitch.tv. It's a website. We talked about 45 million or so gamers use it on a monthly basis to watch and play some of their favorite games while chatting with other listeners. Seems pretty cool, and they were recently purchased by Amazon, according to the caller. So I did a little quick search, Twitch, Bitcoin. What did I find? Well, in March of 2014, a Redditor posted that twitch.tv should consider Bitcoin. Headline from 7 days ago from CryptoCoinsNews.com reports, Twitch, the online streaming platform beloved by geeks and gamers from all over the world, started accepting Bitcoin. Ah, a perfect match. A digital currency now accepted at a digital platform, right? This is what people have been saying to Amazon for a long time. Like people like me who've been using Gift, a third-party app which processes Bitcoin payments. I've been using Gift to buy things from Amazon for years now. Years. And this is unacceptable that they don't take Bitcoin directly. You know, think about all the money they would save cutting out those credit card fees. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, of course, Gift kicks back about 3% to me, so I'm not complaining, but I do wish that a place like Amazon would accept Bitcoin directly. Well, now they've acquired a business that does take Bitcoin directly. CryptoCoinsNews.com reports this story, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Checking all the, it looks like we did recently miss a call. Hopefully, if you're listening to this broadcast and you tried to call in, just try again. We'll get through to you. We missed you on the last break. So, okay, Twitch.tv accepts Bitcoin from CryptoCoinsNews.com. Twitch, blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin was just one of many payment options announced by Twitch.tv in their international push. They say, here's a little quote from them. I'll do a screen share. Looks like they tweeted at Twitch, "We can now take Bitcoin, Pay Safecard, and many more payment options for Twitch Turbo. Channel subs soon." That's awesome. And then they've got a link to their blog. That got a bunch of retweets and favorites. A strategic move. The growing success platform, which many generates nearly 2% of the internet traffic in the United States, now allows gamers to broadcast or stream their video games online and watch other players' streams. In July alone, the startup founded just 3 years ago by Emmett Shear and Justin Kahn has attracted 55 million unique users for a total of 15 billion minutes of videos watched. Holy crap! I mean, people will really want to watch people play video games. Well, thanks to the Bitcoin edition, Twitch users can now use Bitcoin to subscribe to the premium service, Twitch Turbo, and enjoy uninterrupted viewing, exclusive profile personalizing options, and priority customer support. The primary reason for accepting all these new means of payment, including Bitcoin, is to reach the widest possible audience, especially in countries where credit card use is not particularly widespread. Twitch.tv extrapolated on this point in their blog post. Quote, "But I live in Uganda," you say. You can use Skrill, OKPay, and more. But what about me in Brazil? You can use Mercado Pago, Fundos Pagoseria, and more. The famous streaming platform teamed up with Solla, XSOLLA, which partners with the American Bitcoin processor Coinbase to handle Bitcoin payments. This detail is particularly important. Indeed, beyond the handful of merchants who decide to accept Bitcoin by contracting directly with Coinbase or BitPay or one of their competitors, most of the merchants are currently using a payment service provider such as Zola or Shopify that allows them to add hundreds of means of payment in a few clicks and centralize all of their different transaction flows from different payment methods in a single area. Well, given the number of merchants that are currently using these types of payment service providers, the work of Bitcoin evangelism among the latter is therefore especially important and bears often fruit, as is shown with the recent partnership between GoCoin and Aprisa, which brought the option of Bitcoin acceptance to over 1,000 merchants. The move by Twitch predates the $970 million acquisition of Twitch by Amazon a few days ago. This acquisition aroused great optimism in the community in the context of a possible extension of the acceptance of Bitcoin from Twitch.tv to Amazon. Yeah, that's what I'm happy about. I think they're going to do it. They acquire a business that takes Bitcoin. They say, hey, look how easy that is. And then they start to accept it. However, this international exuberance must be qualified by considering the following statement made weeks ago by the Amazon payments head, Tom Taylor, who suggested that Bitcoin adoption isn't yet on the online retailer's pipeline. Quote, "Obviously, it gets a lot of press, and we've considered it, but we're not hearing from customers that it's right for them, and don't have any plans to engage in Bitcoin with Amazon." Great. Thanks, Tom Taylor. Well, you know who to tweet at now. Let them know that, hey, we are Amazon customers and we do want Bitcoin, okay? I've been using it for years. I know there are lots of others. Amazon, or who is Overstock, is making $300,000 a month in Bitcoin payments. You think Amazon doesn't care about that kind of money? I mean, yeah, they're big time and all, but shucks. I mean, $300,000 it's not a chump change. And Overstock is predicting a $1 million a month in Bitcoin payments soon. So, I mean, how late is Amazon going to wait to get in on this game? I guess they have the benefit of being so large that people are going to go to them anyway. But it's not going to be like that forever. There are a lot of companies that I've chosen to do business with instead of Amazon because they accept Bitcoin. For example, Tiger Direct now accepts Bitcoin. What is the one? Newegg.com accepts Bitcoin. Sells many of the same things as Amazon. Electronics that I use for producing this show. So people send me Bitcoin. Hey, speaking of all this Bitcoin talk, our last caller asked, like, well, what the hell is it? Yeah, Bitcoin is a decentralized currency designed for the internet. It's a lot like gold, but can be transacted across long distances instantly and for free. Very cool. And you can send me some Bitcoin by scanning this QR code on your screen, or if you don't have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone with which to scan the QR code, you can instead go to my website, derekj.me/sponsor. And there you will see not only this QR code, but also the long written out BTC address, which you can put into your wallet, copy, paste that. Boom. Then you've sent me some Bitcoin. I appreciate it. Every donation counts. So that's a story from Twitch and Twitch.tv. Very exciting to see new merchant adoption. We were talking about the fans' code of conduct and how there are undercover police going to be at all the Seahawks games now. That's before we were interrupted by a caller, which we love. We love to be interrupted by callers. But let's go back to the story. There are undercover police at Seahawks games. How many undercover police are there at your local football game? Do you think that they've perhaps been there all along? Are they wearing opposite team jerseys? Are they wearing law enforcement uniforms? Or are they wearing nothing at all? Well, according to King5.com, an NBC News affiliate, fans exhibiting behavior violating the fan code of conduct will be ejected from the stadium, and many may have revoked of their ticket privileges. Fans can report any inappropriate activity that's disrupting their enjoyment of the game via text message, and the Seahawks also remind season ticket holders that they are responsible for the behavior of the persons in their seats. If those persons are ejected, the Seahawks may take appropriate action against the season ticket holder, up to and including season ticket revocation. So that's right, we got secret police now to help kick you out of your seat at the Seahawks game, and who knows where else. This is just where they're reporting on. Does this concern you? Undercover police kicking people out of their football games? Is this what the police should be doing? Is this what you pay your taxes for? I don't think so. I don't much appreciate it. This is Peace News.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network.
This is Derek J.
promote.lrn.fm.
Sure.
Thank you. I'd rather not talk to one person I can't see who's talking over the both of us. Anyway, I give you permission, seeing that I just saw that you Skyped me a message. Anytime you want to do a group call with me and Nathan, don't bother to ask.
Cool. Okay. Well, I don't know if Nathan's online at the moment, but
no, I got that message now, seeing that you virtually text me via Skype, and I saw that just recently, like as in now. Anyway, anytime you want to do a group call with anybody, you have my permission. Don't waste the airtime asking.
Cool. All right, I won't.
Yeah, but just as I didn't object to hearing on another show a friend of yours say that you passed on my phone number to him, and then I know he made like a dork and Googled the phone number and found out everything he could about me online. Can you unblock my phone number, because I only called you because you gave it out during the Angel Clark show, by the way?
Sure. I can unblock your number.
And Ken, I noticed, had the in-studio and a phone direct line because he works for LRN.
But I really like when you Skype in, because you sound better.
Okay, I don't like it. Plus, I can't surf my my internet while I'm on the Skype.
Okay.
With you, but whatever. It's not a big objection, but you can, if you'd rather me Skype in, I will. But I don't particularly care for it. And just as what Ken said to you on Angel Clark's show about the British intelligence agency creating ISIL,
yes,
I just wanted to say that's morally repugnant, not to mention fallacious.
Oh, okay.
The guys that literally have chopped people's heads off and put them in stakes in downtown Mosul weren't created by the British intelligence agency any more than the guy that chopped James Foley's head off that spoke perfect English because he was from England.
Hey, hold that thought. We're coming right back.
An audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Peace News. If you're listening to the final segment of the show, there's still time for your thoughts and calls if you make them quickly. 443-424-8347 is our call-in line. Spells out Hi-Fi Civ Dis, or you can Skype PeaceNewsNow as one particular caller. Semi-famous for now calling into this show and many others on LRN.FM, and I'm sure many others around the world. James from Arizona is on Peace News. Go ahead with your thoughts, James.
Don't make like Billy Squire, please, and stroke me. But anyway,
I gotta Google that.
I called in. You don't know who Billy Squire is?
I'm looking it up.
A monster hit in the '80s.
Okay, well that would be why.
Anyway, whatever. I'm guessing that I have no objection, by the way, of Undercover, a policeman being in a stadium of 85,000 plus people. Of which there's heavy beer drinking and much rowdiness and antipathy towards visiting fans, not to mention one's own fans. And it did crack me up, by the way, that you didn't even know that where the reigning Super Bowl champions actually play their home games.
No, I didn't know that. I don't care to know that. I don't follow the bread and circuses. But anyway, I think I don't have a problem with undercover police. I just think that they should be paying for it. I don't think the public should have to pay for private security in a private location like a stadium. That's bullshit.
And should cops like drive around town either in squad cars, just looking out for people, or should they like stay at the police department and wait for somebody to call them?
I think they should stay at the police department like the fire department does. The fire department doesn't drive around and look for fires. They wait for a call.
No, because actually, that's a much more particular vocation.
Why? Says who?
For somebody to have.
They just expanded their own power. It's not like anyone asked for that to happen. It's not like I walked into Keene one day and said, like, hey, you guys should be driving around more looking for those victimless criminals. Lock up those pot smokers. That's really causing a problem. If they instead just waited for people to call and say, hey, my bike is stolen, come help me, I mean, that's a fine use of police. But police just riding around looking for trouble, they create criminals.
Okay, that might be the case for instance, maybe like hypothetically, if we find out all the truth, nothing about the truth, that Mike Brown was created, was a criminal that did attack a cop because the cop was driving down the street and asked him, hey, what are you doing walking down the middle of the street? And he subsequently told the cop to fuck off. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I can't say that, but you said bullshit. You
can curse on this show. We try not to.
He didn't create Mike Brown. Mike Brown's parents created Mike Brown, and the value system that Mike Brown had was through his experience and his upbringing, and he turned into that big kid that I'm guessing did attack the cop, and that's why he ended up getting killed. But I don't want to go on a rant there about that. I'm just using an example. I don't think a cop driving around town just looking out for the protecting and serving his community rather than being back at the precinct is creating criminals.
What do you make of them? Oh, sorry. Go on.
I'm just saying. Go ahead and ask your question.
What do you think of the Microsoft story, where Microsoft is protecting its customers by refusing to comply with the federal order to turn over their emails?
I only listened to that in passing because I already know that it's called the World Wide Web. I already know that people, if they're so inclined, can find out what my emails are. I have been actually attacked by somebody that worked for another radio station called Air America Radio. I have been had my emails invaded.
Well, I think that's wrong. I think you should have privacy over your emails.
Well, I'd like to think that I do, but I also know that anything I put on that I engage with online, I know if there's trolls or whatever you call them out there, whether they work for the government or not, know what my full name's email. If they want to know what is on my email, they can find it.
Okay, so you're not concerned, but what about people who value their privacy, who really don't want to be found out or are doing something, secret?
Derek J., you're misunderstanding me. I didn't say I'm not concerned.
Oh, okay.
But if I want to value my privacy to the absolute possibility, I should like to keep off the internet as much as possible if I'm engaging in stuff that I really don't want other people to know.
But what it comes down to is, does the U.S. have jurisdiction over Ireland? Because Ireland is where these emails are being held. And the U.S. government says, we have those, we should be able to read those emails. And Microsoft is like, hell no, you don't have jurisdiction over Ireland. We're not turning those over.
Right. Well, this is where I have to say to you, all I know about this story is what I hear on the radio. I don't know whose emails the government is going after in Ireland, but I don't object to the United States government I know that some other people wouldn't say it's called metadata data mining. They'd like to turn it into something else, but I know that probably the reason why, for instance, I was going to ask you about undercover cops in stadiums. I bet you don't object to undercover cops called field marshals being on those little tubes with wings that fly. Can fly from one city to another if you're on it, right?
I do.
You object to that as well?
I do. I don't mind them being undercover. I just mind who pays for it. Like the airline should pay for it. You're talking about people being secretly on planes so that they can stop a disaster from happening. That's great. I want that. But I just want JetBlue to pay for it.
Well, back to this, who's going to pay for it one way or the other? It's like corporate taxes or any taxes the government can levy on corporations. What do they do? They pay them, yeah. What do they do as far as paying for them, though? They pass it on into the price they charge the customers. So one way or the other, you're going to pay for it whether you want it or not. So
yeah, but I should be able to have the choice to say, like, I do want to fly on an airline that has that, or I don't want it, and it would have a difference in the price. Like maybe I want to fly on terrorist airlines. And terrorist airlines has no security. They don't put any money into safety checks. They just fly metal cans until they hit the ground. And that should be a choice. If I want to be on a very unsafe airline, I can choose to do that. Probably not many people would, and they would go out of business pretty quick. But people should at least be free to have the choice and not be forced to pay for something that they don't want.
Okay. Respectfully, in your dream world where everybody has a choice, the terrorist airlines, people that were in the towers and in Pentagon were there by choice, but they didn't ask for those tubes, those manned drones, to fly into their buildings, and they had no choice whatsoever in the matter, because there's like the public realm when you're exercising your free choice in the public realm, and I'm not implying that you're going to fly a plane into a building, but the SOBs that did, whether or not if there had been field marshals on those planes, and you weren't even on those planes, and you weren't paying the taxes to pay for them, if there had been field marshals on those planes, they wouldn't have been flown into buildings.
Well, I would have a gun.
No consent.
If I had the freedom to, I would have a gun on a plane. It used to be allowed, and everything was fine.
Well, in the time and place in this world where people were had a less criminal minds, than we live in a world where there's much more.
Says who? I mean, says you that there's more criminal minds now? I mean,
okay. Why? Okay, let me put it this way then, Derek J.
Only because
why do you think
bigger.
there are not as many? Why do you? Okay, I'm not here to advocate for bigger government, but when you're talking about a little moving object through the sky with a tube that flies by jet fuel, that can literally is an endangerment to anybody on the ground or in buildings if somebody's so inclined. Now that there are no more guns on planes except for in the hands of field marshals
and sometimes pilots.
Since then, since they got rid of guns on planes, I'm not giving thanks to big government. I can't remember the last time some terrorist, usually of Islamicist descent, has gone through a cockpit door, stuck a gun in a pilot's head, and said, "You're going to fly this wherever I tell you to." I can't remember the last time that's happened. In fact, since guns have been
9/11 happened, man.
They didn't use guns, as we know.
Yeah, but if people were allowed to have guns on planes, then they would have been able to stop the terrorists.
Just if there had been the foresight of having field marshals on planes clandestinely in cities that are now on planes, maybe every single one that does fly in the air. I don't know. Since 9/11, nobody has stuck up a pilot, at least in the United States of America, with a gun. But okay, I'm all for guns here, Derek J. But there is a time and a place where reasonable people can disagree as to whether or not you should have the right to have a gun. For instance, a plane that's flying in public airspace.
Should be up to the airline.
Go anywhere.
It's private property. Should be up to the property owner.
You didn't hear me. I've already objected to that rebut, because it's up to the airline if a guy sticks up the pilot, regardless of what airline you're flying. If somebody does so have a gun.
All right. I wish we had more time, James. As always, we're going to have to leave it there, cutting off a little bit early. If you want to hear more calls from James, tune in next Tuesday. We'll be back. Hopefully he'll call in again. We've got more Peace News coming up. Now it's Free Talk Live. Peace.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our...
Oh, hey, before I leave you, I want to share with you one more time that this QR code right here on this screen, ooh, isn't it lovely? This is what keeps the show going. So I talk into this microphone and like boom, boom, boom. Hopefully you say, I value this, the things that are going into this microphone. And by valuing them, you prove it to me by putting your phone right up to the screen, scanning that QR code, and saying, I'm going to give Derek J some Bitcoin now. Because that will show him that I like the show. I recommend giving $2. That is not a crazy amount. In fact, it's an amount that another popular podcaster scoffed at, saying $2 is nothing. Don't send me $2 donations. I'll be mad. I'll be angry. I have to pay more in processing fees, blah, 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 blah. I won't be mad. I'll be very happy. I'll say, gee, it looks like someone enjoyed the show today. Thanks for your $2. I appreciate it. Because sending $2 in Bitcoin, that's nothing. It takes no time at all, almost no fees, and it's a great way to communicate, show that you value the program. I am giving you value, and you are giving me value in exchange. That's how we make the world a better place. Let's get world peace through Bitcoin. Thanks, everyone. I'll be back on Tuesday. In the meantime, check us out at PeaceNewsNow.com and my website, derekj.me. Oh, check out this cool shirt I have. You can get your own, I think, at libertyaddict.com. I'm not totally sure. It's definitely online. Buy one of these shirts. I think it's super cool. Check you later.